On the night of July 6, 2024, Sonya Massey does something that should be ordinary. She hears something outside her home near Springfield, Illinois. She's worried. She calls 911. She is asking the system to protect her. 2 deputies arrive. They search the area. They find nothing. They come inside. And in the next several minutes, inside Sonya Massey's own kitchen, one of those deputies shoots her 3 times in the face. She is 36 years old. Her 2 teenage children are asleep nearby. The deputy's name is Sean Patrick Grayson. He has worked for 5 different police departments in 3 years. He has a documented history of misconduct in the military. He has an open internal investigation at his previous job that was never completed. Sangamon County hired him anyway. This is the story of what happened in that kitchen and what the law says about it. It's the story of what happened after, because justice rarely ends where the cameras do. And it is the story of a system that handed a badge and a gun to a man who should never have had either. Stay with us. Every fact in this story is verified. Every outcome is documented. This case is closed, but it is not over. Before she becomes a name on a protest sign, before she becomes a case number, before she becomes the reason a law gets written, Sonya Massey is a mother. She has 2 children, a daughter, Summer, who is 15, a son, Malachi, who is 17. They live together in Woodside Township, just outside Springfield, Illinois. Sonya is 36 years old. She has struggled with her mental health. Her family knows this. It is not a secret, and it is not a flaw. It is a fact about who she is, the same way any fact about a person is a fact. On the day she dies, she has already had a difficult day. Body camera footage from 16 hours earlier shows she is not doing well. She is not a threat. She is not a suspect. She is a woman with a hard day behind her and 2 sleeping teenagers down the hall. That evening, she hears something outside. She does what people are told to do. She calls for help. She tells the 911 dispatcher she thinks there may be a prowler. Help arrives in the form of 2 deputies. She opens her door. She lets them in. Her daughter Summer will later stand in a courtroom and tell a judge that in the months that follow, she will spend herself, exhausted, trying to justify and explain her mother's innocence to a world that keeps asking her to prove it. Sonya Massey did nothing wrong. That sentence will matter before this story ends. Sean Patrick Grayson is 30 years old on the night he responds to Sonya Massey's 911 call. He has been a Sangamon County Sheriff's deputy for less than a year. Before that, he worked at 5 different law enforcement agencies across Illinois in under 3 years. 5 agencies in 3 years. That pattern has a name in policing circles. It's called a wandering officer. Before any of that, Grayson served in the United States Army. He did not leave honorably. Military records show he received a general discharge under honorable conditions, a specific classification that sits below a full honorable discharge, for what his records describe as misconduct, serious offense. The serious offense is a DUI. On multiple law enforcement job applications, Grayson writes that he received an honorable discharge. That is not what his records say. At the Logan County Sheriff's Office, his second-to-last employer before Sangamon County, a supervisor will later tell investigators, "How are you still employed?" A quote that refers to Grayson's conduct while on that job. Grayson resigns from Logan County in April 2023 before an internal investigation into his conduct is completed. He resigns in good standing, which means the file closes, which means no flag gets transferred. 1 month later, Sangamon County hires him. The Sangamon County Sheriff's Office will later state that it was aware of the DUI at the time of hire and that it conducted appropriate vetting. What that vetting did not surface, or did not stop, is a deputy with a pattern of short tenures, a misconduct discharge, a dishonest job application, and an unfinished internal investigation at his most recent employer. Sean Grayson is handed a badge and a gun. He is assigned to respond to 911 calls. Before we go inside that kitchen, you need to understand one thing clearly. The law on this is not ambiguous. In 1985, the United States Supreme Court decided Tennessee versus Garner. The ruling is direct. A law enforcement officer may only use deadly force against a person when the officer has probable cause to believe that the person poses a significant threat of death or serious physical injury. Not a possible threat, not an uncomfortable one, a significant, imminent, objective threat. In 1989, the court added Graham versus Connor. The reasonableness of any use of force must be judged by what a reasonable officer would have done in the same circumstances, not what the officer claims he felt, what a reasonable person in that position would have concluded. In Illinois, when a killing is intentional, but the defendant genuinely, if unreasonably, believed circumstances justified the use of deadly force, the charge is second-degree murder under 720 ILCS 5/9-2 of the Illinois Criminal Code. And here is what the law says about Sonya Massey specifically. She is not a suspect. She is the person who called 911. She has not committed a crime. She has not threatened anyone. She has asked for help. The law permits Grayson to respond to her call, enter her home with her consent, request her identification, ask that a potential hazard be moved. If, and only if, he faces an objectively reasonable belief of imminent serious harm, he may use proportional force. He has a taser. He has a partner. He has a counter between himself and Sonya Massey. He has distance. What happens next will be judged against every word of that legal standard. Keep that standard in your mind as we go into the kitchen. The body camera belongs to Deputy Dawson Farley, Grayson's partner. It captures everything. The deputies are inside the home. They ask Sonya Massey for her ID. She goes to get it. At some point, her attention turns to the stove. There is a pot of water on it, and she moves toward it. Grayson tells her to turn off the burner. She does. Then he asks her to move the pot. She picks it up, and she says twice, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." It is a phrase rooted in Pentecostal Christian tradition. It is a religious declaration. Sonya Massey is not raising a weapon. She is holding a pot. She is speaking a prayer. Grayson says, "I'll shoot you in the face." Sonya Massey apologizes immediately. She ducks down behind a counter, bringing herself low, covering her face with what appears to be a red oven mitt. A counter now stands between her and Grayson. She is below it, crouched, apologizing, making herself smaller. She briefly rises. Grayson shoots her 3 times in the face. She falls. Farley moves toward her. Grayson stops him. "You can go get it," Grayson says of the medical kit. "But that's a headshot. There's nothing you can do." No aid is rendered. Dawson Farley, the partner, the one who owns the body camera, the one who is present for every second, will later testify for the prosecution. He will tell the jury he was not frightened by anything Sonya Massey did. He drew his weapon only to back up his partner. He did not perceive a threat. He did not fire. Prosecutors will point to the counter, the distance, the taser on Grayson's belt that he later claims he did not trust. They will point to a woman apologizing, ducking, making herself small. And they will ask one question. By what objective standard was Sean Grayson in danger? The answer, they will argue, is none. Here is the thing about Sean Grayson that makes this harder to look away from. The Sangamon County Sheriff's Office did not hire a mystery. They hired a record. Grayson's military discharge, classified for serious misconduct, should have raised flags on a background check. His own job applications overstated the classification of that discharge. That is a documented dishonesty on a government form. At the Logan County Sheriff's Office, he worked for a period that ended not with a clean resignation, but with an open internal investigation he walked away from. His file closed when he left. Good standing is a bureaucratic term. It does not mean no concerns existed. 5 agencies in 3 years. In policing, that is a signal. It is called wandering because these officers move before accountability can catch them. They resign in good standing. They are quietly let go. And they land at the next department where no one has seen the full picture. The Sangamon County Sheriff's Office will later state that it knew about the DUI, that it conducted appropriate vetting. What it did not do, and what the evidence suggests it could not do with the information available under the existing system, was put together the complete picture. The military record, the job application discrepancy, the incomplete investigation, the pattern of movement. That is exactly why, in May 2025, the Illinois House passes House Bill 1953, Sonya Massey's bill. It mandates more thorough background checks before a law enforcement officer is hired in the state of Illinois. The law that might have kept Grayson off the force is named after the woman he killed. We will return to that in a moment. First, we need to talk about what happened in the courtroom. Grayson is indicted on multiple charges: first-degree murder, aggravated battery with a firearm, and official misconduct. Before trial, the aggravated battery and official misconduct charges are dropped. On October 23, 2025, opening statements begin in Sangamon County Circuit Court. Grayson takes the stand. He tells the jury he was scared. He believed Massey was going to throw boiling water at him. He didn't use his taser, he says, because he wasn't confident it would work. His own sergeant testifies against him. The sergeant tells the court that Grayson's conduct violated Sangamon County Sheriff's Office policies on use of force, body-worn cameras, departmental conduct, and, critically, rendering aid. His own partner testifies against him. On October 29, 2025, after nearly 12 hours of deliberation, the jury returns a verdict. Not first-degree murder, second-degree murder. The distinction matters. First-degree murder would require the jury to find that Grayson knew his use of deadly force was not justified. Second-degree murder, under 720 ILCS 5/9-2, finds that the killing was intentional, but that Grayson may have genuinely, if unreasonably, believed he was in danger. Sonya Massey's father, James Wilburn, addresses the court at sentencing. There's a difference in this country, he says, when you have my skin color and Grayson's skin color. We need serious justice, not a miscarriage of justice. The defense asks for leniency. Grayson has been diagnosed with advanced cancer in his colon, rectum, lungs, and liver. Judge Ryan Cadigan denies a motion for a new trial filed December 2, 2025. On January 29, 2026, Judge Cadigan sentences Sean Patrick Grayson to 20 years in prison, the maximum term allowed under the statute. Grayson's mother, Donna Massey, delivers her victim impact statement. She closes it by looking at Grayson and saying, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." The same words her daughter spoke in her kitchen before she died. Sean Grayson is now in prison. He is permanently barred from law enforcement in Illinois. In February 2025, Sangamon County reaches a civil settlement with the Massey family. $10 million. The GoFundMe created after Sonya's death raises over $529,000. No amount of money brings Summer's mother back. No amount of money gives Malachi back the mornings when he wakes up and for a moment thinks she's still there, before he remembers she isn't. Both children speak at sentencing. Summer says it has been exhausting. That word, exhausting. having to justify and explain her mother's innocence over and over again to people who keep asking her to prove it. She is a teenager. She should not have to prove her mother deserved to live. Malachi says sometimes he wakes up thinking she's still there. Sheriff Jack Campbell retires on August 31, 2024. He cites the shooting as a factor. He writes in a statement that Massey lost her life due to an unjustifiable and reckless decision by former Deputy Grayson. President Biden issues a public statement calling the killing senseless and calling for police reform. The DOJ opens a federal investigation. Its current status is not confirmed. And then there is Sonya Massey's bill, House Bill 1953, signed into Illinois law in May 2025. It requires more rigorous background checks for law enforcement hires in Illinois. It exists because the system that was supposed to catch Sean Grayson never did. The cost of that failure is measured in 2 children who will carry it for the rest of their lives. Here is what we know. A woman called 911 for protection. The officer who responded should not have been on the force. The system that put him there failed. At the military discharge, at the job applications, at the incomplete investigation he walked away from, at 5 agencies that let him move on before accountability could find him. Sonya Massey is dead. She was 36. She apologized to the man pointing a gun at her face. She made herself smaller. She was shot anyway. Sean Patrick Grayson is in prison, serving 20 years. He is the first Illinois officer convicted of murder for an on-duty shooting in decades. His partner, who felt no threat, remains employed. The law named after Sonya Massey is now on the books. Her daughter is still exhausted. Her son still has mornings he has to remember. Our verdict? The system caught this one, late, imperfectly, with a lesser charge than the family deserved. But it caught it. The question this case forces is not whether Grayson should be in prison. He is. The question is, how many Sean Graysons are still out there, moving from department to department, file closed, badge in hand, waiting for the next 911 call?